What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world? I would like to welcome you back to the latest Team Zuby live stream. First of all, I want to check in and make sure that you guys can hear me okay. I am trying something new today. I am actually recording with a brand new camera. You guys can probably see this is not your typical webcam. This is not your typical webcam right here. So I'm trying this out with a whole different camera. Hopefully the image quality will be looking superb, far better than what you are normally used to seeing on this. So let me know that you guys can hear me okay, and let me know that you can see me okay. Just drop in a comment and let me know before we kick off this live stream. I just want to be certain that everyone can hear me all right. I want to shout out to the people who are tuned in already. I see you, Nikki. I see you, Sarah. It's that one chick called the Popo. There we go. We got the ladies tuned in right now. So thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know you guys can hear me okay. Drop a message in the chat so that I know that you can hear me okay. Awesome. Sounds like you can hear me. And how's the image quality? How am I looking? Am I in focus? Am I looking sharp? Is the background nice and blurry? I'm trying to get stuff looking all professional right now. So thank you for tuning in. It looks like it's the ladies tuning in today. So thank you. Big up to the ladies tuning in tonight. Shout out to everybody tuning in. I see you. Big up to Isabel, Brittany, Akuma, Rebecca, Matt, Angelic Culture. Who else we got here in the chat? Big up to everybody in the chat right now. So firstly, you guys may know I have been on vacation. So the last 2 Monday nights, I was not able to live stream because I was on vacation. I was in Greece. I was in Corfu, chilling. And I wanted to postpone any further live streams until I got back and I could do it properly. If I'm going to do something, I like to do things properly. And also, I've been working really hard. I needed a break. It had been, first time leaving the UK this whole year. You guys remember I was supposed to travel to the US in May. I was supposed to go in June and again in July. And then this whole COVID situation happened. And the less said about that, the better. But here we are, back doing the live streams. I'll be back here 8 p.m. BST, upcoming Mondays for the foreseeable future until I have some reason not to be able to do it again. But I enjoy being able to jump onto these chats. I enjoy speaking with you all. And I'm happy to have you here. So if this is your first time tuning into a Team Zuby live stream, I know I got a whole bunch of new followers, new subscribers over the past couple weeks. So some of you guys may be tuning in. We recently surpassed 50,000 subscribers over here on the YouTube. So thank you very much. These are big gains. Hit 70,000 on Instagram, 320,000 on Twitter, and 50,000 plus now on YouTube. So those are big goals, especially considering I don't consider myself a YouTuber. Having 50,000 people subscribing to me here is big. And there's a lot more I'm going to do with this channel. I have plans. The podcast is going to get upgraded. Everything is going to get upgraded. That's why I got this new video camera. So just stay tuned and please keep on supporting. If it's your first time tuning in, I always open up with a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions that you want to ask me, just drop it right there in the chat. If you would like to support the channel and you'd like to support me and my work in general, you can always leave a super chat. You don't need to leave a super chat for me to get to your question, but I always prioritize anybody who leaves a super chat, and I will give you a shout out on the channel as well, of course, because it is most appreciated. So today's topic, I'm going to open with a Q&A, but I'm going to talk a little bit about today's topic, which is going to be, is the media the enemy of the people? Let me know what you guys think. Drop a message in the chat. Do you think is that a fair statement to make? Is that too wide-reaching? Is that unfair? Is that perhaps maybe you disagree with it completely? Maybe you think the media is the friend of the people. But do you agree with the statement that the media is the enemy of the people? You guys heard people say this. I think even President Trump himself about a year or two, and I think maybe, I don't know what year, 2017, 2018. I think he said that statement and it went kind of viral. Some people agreed. Some people strongly agreed. Some people disagreed. Some people strongly disagreed. What do you think? Is the media the enemy of the people? I'll let you know what my thoughts are. But let's open up the Q&A and let's just see what people are saying. Let's see what the vibes are out there right now. Let us see what the vibes are right now. Okay. I'm seeing some strong comments coming in here already. A lot of people saying that the video is looking good. Thank you. Thank you. I spent a lot of money on this camera and trying to get stuff set up, so it's going to keep getting better. I don't yet have the camera in the exact position that I want it, but I have just bought like a. I can't even show you how this camera is being held up right now, but I've invested in some stuff to get the right camera, get the camera in the right positioning, get the lighting perfect, all of that. These are all things I'm working on as we go. But thanks to people like yourselves supporting my music, supporting the work, supporting the channel, it means I can invest in better equipment and I can do everything that I do a lot better. So expect upgrades over time. That's what it's all about. Brittany said that I've been missed. Thank you very much, Brittany. I appreciate that. Wow, we got people tuning in from everywhere. I'm seeing people tuning in from the UK, USA, Russia, Australia. It's amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I see my man Patriot J has tuned in. Shout out to you. Okay, a lot of people are agreeing that the media is the enemy of the people. Someone said that that's that's what Stalin said. That's interesting. He probably meant it in a slightly different way than the way most of us mean it. Someone here has written mainstream. Absolutely yes. Cecilia has written the media is the enemy of the West civilization. Wow, that's a big comment. Rory has written, I don't think the media in general is the enemy of the people. I think the media wildly exacerbates existing sensitive issues for their own benefit. But there are a lot of positive media outlets too. Yeah, that's along the lines of what I think. Definitely along the lines. Like, I don't like to paint with too broad a brush. And I don't think it would be a fair statement to totally say the media is the enemy of the people. But we will get onto that in more details. Let's see what other people are saying. Definitely agree. CBC, CTV, Global and Canada are all propaganda networks working for Justin Trudeau. That's interesting. Julian says the mainstream media and their journalists are... I think that's meant to say castrated. But castratet. Castratet should be a word. I don't know what it should mean, but I think that castratet should be a word. I'm gonna see if I can get that in a song somehow. All right, we got this first super chat of the evening. This is Akuma Soko Films, sends £2.99. Thank you very much for the super chat. It is appreciated. He wrote, the BBC is the enemy of the people. Wow, and it's funded by the people. So that's a big one. That's a big one. Here in the UK, we have publicly funded television. People have to, if you guys don't know, some of you aren't in the UK, so you may not know that in the UK, if you want to watch TV, which I don't, then you actually need to pay an annual TV license. So you have to pay money to have a TV and to watch TV. You have to pay, I don't know how much the TV license is now, maybe like £150 or something like that. And a lot of that money goes primarily to the BBC, I believe. So if people think the BBC is the enemy of the people, then yeah, we might have some problems on our hands. But thank you for the super chat. Let's see what else we've got here. Phil says, big tech and media is truly enemy of the free people, not the mindless drones. Interesting. Okay, this is a general Q&A question from Susan. How do you think Twitter's role in media affects the news cycles? I think Twitter drives a lot of news cycles. That's where a lot of conversations happen, especially amongst the political people. Of course, you got a lot of politicians on there. You've got the prime minister on there of most countries. You've got the presidents of most countries on there. You've got Boris Johnson, President Trump. You've got their opposition. Everybody, all these people are on Twitter. Twitter's only 330 million monthly users across the world globally, but it matters. It matters. It drives a lot of the news stories, actually, if you look at it. So I think Twitter definitely has a pretty major role, more than its user base may suggest. You have platforms like Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, which have far more users, but you don't really see so many stories in the media coming from Facebook, coming from Instagram, etc. But you're always seeing stories originating and growing and going viral on Twitter. And I know because I've worked that myself. Okay, let's see what we. Okay, someone said the media license apparently is £157. £157. Shout out to John, says, I loved your interview with trigonometry. Okay, thank you. All right. Generally, people seem to be, okay, this is an interesting comment. Rory wrote, I think an interesting shift in the last 5 years is that previously the internet was driven by real life events. Now it feels like the opposite. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Brittany says, if mainstream news outlets were actually unbiased, I would disagree. It's a fair comment. It's a very, very fair comment. And this is another interesting one. So I'm going to give my thoughts, but this is interesting. So remember, people forget when the BBC was founded, it was famed for driving wartime propaganda. Why do we think that would ever change? Why do we think they would ever change from that behavior? That's a really interesting point. I'm not really aware of that. I don't really know the origins and the history of the BBC. But if it was founded and they were pushing a lot of wartime propaganda, it doesn't surprise me. I know they were doing the same thing in the US, and to be honest, in every country, right? They use the TV, they use the radio, etc., to push a lot of wartime propaganda. It even went down to the children's cartoons. It went down to the school systems, every avenue that they've got, TV, media, print, etc., whatever they've got, they're going to use that to push whatever agenda they want to push. So, yeah, that's real talk right there. So, what are my thoughts on this? Is the media the enemy of the people? I know that's a little bit of a provocative statement. It's a provocative title, and it's something that's hard to answer with any kind of you can't answer it with any nuance with a simple yes or no. So I'm going to just sort of share some of my thoughts. It's a live stream. You guys know how I do. I'm just going to kind of freestyle it and share some thoughts and see what people think. I partially agree with the statement and I partially disagree. So I'll start with the disagreement. Firstly, when you talk about the media is a very broad thing, right? Am I part of the media? I'm creating media right now by me doing live streaming. But I think when people talk about media, that's not typically what they mean. I don't think they're generally talking about music and podcasts and YouTubers and stuff like that. When people use the term the media, they are generally talking about mainstream media. If you're in the UK, they're talking about BBC, Sky News, ITV, etc., Channel 4. If you're in the USA, they're typically talking about mainstream news media. They're talking about CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, NBC, etc. So when people say the media, that broad term, I think they're generally talking about that from a TV sense, and then they're talking about the mainstream newspapers, perhaps some of the mainstream websites, stuff like that. So when people talk about the media, that's really what they're saying. So what people would call the MSM, right? Mainstream media. Now, is the mainstream media the enemy of the people? Again, I partially agree. So let me say where I disagree. I think that the reality is that large swathes of what you see on the media is going to be fairly accurate and informative, right? For the most part, when you get away from the opinion pieces and you get away from the political pundits, etc., they are typically doing their best to report things that are going on in the world on a local level, on a national level, on an international level, etc. There are plenty of good individual journalists out there who have journalistic integrity and who try their best to be fair and objective and not supremely biased, etc. However, where I do agree with the statement, and I think this is where a lot of people agree with the statement, is when it comes to opinion, when it comes to the opinion, or when it comes to opinion masquerading as news, right? So when they are putting out subjective, biased opinion pieces, which are very unbalanced, and look, sometimes this comes with a label saying that this is an opinion, but sometimes it doesn't, right? You can be watching what is supposed to be a fair, unbiased, objective news broadcast or reading an article or something, and it has a very, very, very obvious, unannounced bias. And this is a problem. This is a big problem. A real big problem that's been happening with the media as well is with the shift from things going from print to digital, the way they make money has changed. So newspapers have always had provocative headlines. They've always wanted to keep you reading. Stations have always wanted to keep you watching, etc. But this is why they have headlines, right? That's why you've always had headline writers to grab people's attention, so on and so forth. But what's happened now is with things moving online and moving towards the internet, a lot of stuff is just driven by clicks. It's driven by clicks, right? This is why you see these crazy headlines now. You see the craziest headlines. This started popping up really in the Facebook era, right? In the last 10 years, you just start seeing these clickbaity headlines. You start seeing very sensational blog titles and posts and opinion pieces, etc. even on the TV, right? Like everything's changed. Everything is now driven by clicks. It's driven by, and then further with that, they know that what makes people click is getting in people's emotions, right? Anger, outrage, frustration, disbelief. This is the stuff that makes people click. And one of the big reasons I think why journalistic integrity has been killed is because the incentive model is messed up. People are being incentivized to be sensationalist. People are being incentivized to be biased. They're being incentivized to not tell the truth. They're being incentivized in some cases to even lie. And this is a big danger. This is a big danger in what is supposed to be a healthy, stable, free, liberal society, is when the media starts lying, when the media is manipulating facts, when the media is hiding facts, then we need to be concerned, because I know a lot of people, maybe some of you are like me and you don't even own a television, but some of you will watch TV and you'll watch news on occasion more than I do. And people rely on the news people rely on the news media to get their news, right? We're not all traveling around the world every day, seeing what's going on everywhere, trying to keep track of everything. That's not possible for any single person to do. So people rely on these channels, and we rely on them to inform us and not to misinform us, right? To tell us the truth, to try to be fair, to try to be objective, and to give us all of the facts and all of the information that's available to them. And to be fair, like I said earlier, I think a lot of the times they do this. I would probably say most of the time, most of the decent media outlets do this. However, most of the time isn't necessarily good enough, right? Most of the time isn't necessarily good enough. Just like if, I don't know, let's talk about something really relevant right now. People are talking a lot about the police, right? People are talking about the police. They're talking about police brutality, police killings, etc., right? And we know that, look, the police are good most of the time, right? We know this. Most police officers are good. Most are decent. Most are trying to do a good job, etc. I believe that. I'm not anti-police. I'm not in the all cops are bad thing. No, that's nonsense. But we all know, regardless of where you stand on these issues, we know that, if 5% of the police are, not well trained, or they're not of good character, or they don't have integrity, or they've got PTSD, or they're there for the wrong reasons or whatever, then that's a problem. It's a big problem. Even if the other 95% are good, that 5% is, it's still thousands, and they still have a big impact, and it's a problem, right? It's a problem. And when it comes to journalism, when it comes to the media, I mean, with cops, I don't know. I have no idea what those numbers are, right? I said 5% as a random one, but I think when it comes to journalism and people in the media, I certainly believe that number is far higher than 5% of people who are, who just don't have integrity, Perhaps in some cases, they just don't have the right training. Perhaps in some cases, they are simply naive, or they can't see their own blind spots. But in many cases, they know what they're doing. And this is the thing that's really disturbing. And this is the thing that I think upsets me and upsets a lot of people about the way the media behaves sometimes, which is that they know, right? A lot of these people know what they are doing, right? They know exactly what they're doing. We live in a time where a lot of people like to blame. We're hearing a lot of talk about polarization in society and division and hostility and stuff like that. It's not quite as bad here in the UK, but in the US, we've been seeing a lot of that this year. We've been seeing it over many, many years, but this year it's a huge thing, and that's been compounded by the whole pandemic situation, which I also want to speak on because the media has a massive role in that. But yeah, what was I saying? Let me just gather my thoughts there. You're hearing a lot of talk about polarization and division, and you're hearing a lot of people saying, whose fault is it, right? You've got the people who are anti-Trump who want to say that, Trump is the reason for the division. You've got people saying, in the UK, it's the conservatives who are the fault. Some people are saying it's the left. Some people are saying it's the right. It's this politician. It's that politician. But I think a lot of the finger needs to be pointed at the mainstream media, right? because these are the people who create the narrative, right? They create the narrative. And when you create a certain narrative, that is what drives a wedge between people. It's what creates fear. It's what creates hysteria. It's what makes people angry at one another. It's what makes people think that people believe things that they don't even believe, or have said things that they never said, or have done things that they never done. Sometimes that's a politician. Sometimes that's an innocent citizen, right? And the scary thing about the media is they can sort of paint whatever picture they want of whoever they want, right? They could just go out there, and if you tell the lie enough times, or you tell the mistruth enough times, then people start believing it, because people implicitly have this trust in the media. So when they say that this political candidate said something, even if they never said it, if they keep repeating that Donald Trump told his supporters to inject bleach, which he never did. He never did. Donald Trump at no point ever told people to drink bleach. He never told people to inject bleach. But you will see people in real life and online constantly repeating that Donald Trump told people to drink bleach, or that he told them to inject bleach. And this isn't even about Trump, but Trump is a great example because they do this with him a lot, right? We know that a lot of the media is really, they're not fans of Trump. They're anti-Trump. And there are a lot of fair criticisms you can make of the man. But saying that he told people to inject bleach or to drink bleach, or saying that he called all Mexicans rapists, or saying that he called white supremacists very fine people, when he said the total opposite of that, and the media propping up these lies and repeating these lies, that is what is causing division. Because now you have half of the country thinking, oh my gosh, this guy is, we've got a president who openly is supporting white supremacy, who is calling foreigners rapists, and who is telling people to drink and inject bleach. So how do you think that makes people feel, not just towards the president, but towards people who support the president, right? That is what is creating division, right? Because if you truly believe that he said these things, then it now makes sense to very, very strongly oppose anybody who supports him, right? If you think this, oh my gosh, they've painted him, they're saying that he's a Nazi, or he's a white supremacist, or whatever, or he said this, or he's done this, when it's things that haven't been done, then this is what fragments the society. And then on the other hand, you have people who like Trump and who know that he didn't say these things. And so naturally, they also get angry. They get angry not just at the media, but they get angry at the people who are accusing them of supporting someone who supposedly have said and believes in these things. And the media, the mainstream media, plays this game where they just use people as pawns, right? So they can just sow the narrative. They can just go on there on their late night show and be all smiling in their suits, take their $1 million checks, and they can just say whatever they want, and it gets people all amped up, right? And they hide the things they want to hide, and they only talk about the things they want to talk about, and they don't give the other side, right? This is the thing, in my personal opinion, there shouldn't really be such a thing as right-wing news and left-wing news, right? It should just be the news. It should just be the news. And that's a great way to know when you're probably getting the truth, right? If you see something on CNN and MSNBC and Fox News, and they're all saying the same thing, that this thing happened, then that's a good sign, actually. That's a good sign. Okay, this thing happened. These are the objective facts. These are the deal. Like, what do all three of those things agree on? And then you can be like, okay, cool. That's the thing. If you're in the UK and you're reading the Daily Mail and you read the Guardian and you read the Telegraph, and it's like, okay, they all reported the same facts on these things, then you can be fairly certain these are the facts, right? And I do recommend reading a range of stuff. Like, if you are going to get news, I think it's okay to be a little bit uninformed when it comes to the news. Like, you don't need to keep up with it on a day-to-day basis. The important stuff will probably reach you if you are tuned in. I'm not a big fan of checking the news for hours a day. I don't think it's good for people. I don't even think it's healthy, unless that's the world that you live in and you make a living from it or something like that. But yeah, these are just some of my thoughts, and I think that when it comes to talking about division and anger and hostility and polarization in society, I think the role of the media is very understated. I feel like a lot of people know it, but people want to blame politicians or they want to blame individuals or they want to blame this or that. And I feel like a lot of people in the media are just kind of sitting there cackling away as everyone else points the blame at everyone except them, right? No one is holding them accountable. The job of the media is to hold other people accountable, right? Political media is important because they're supposed to hold the politicians accountable, right? They're supposed to hold the people in power accountable. But when the media just becomes a subdivision of those same people in power, which it is really, right? You know, like CNN and the, I don't know, what is it called? The New York Times. These are Wall Street Journal. Like is Wall Street Journal the right one? I'm not sure. But certainly the New York Times and CNN, MSNBC, like these are Democratic Party news outlets, right? Like it's all one and the same. It's the same political wing. It's essentially it is the establishment, right? It's not holding the establishment accountable. It is the establishment, right? I know on the other side you've got, of course, you've got Fox News, which is much more pro-Trump, pro-Republican. I don't know if there are multiple things that are sort of on that level. I know certainly with Fox, and it's like, look, they're gonna be more sympathetic towards the other side. And I feel like if these biases are open and people are upfront about the biases, then I have less of a problem with it. I have a big problem when they claim to be objective, when they claim to be down the line, but they're just not. And it's not surprising that they're not, because you might look at some of them and it's like, oh, okay, well, 90% of the people who work at this newspaper or this TV station, they all vote the same way. They all support the same candidates. They all have the exact same beliefs. Then it's natural that that's going to become an echo chamber. And like I say, if an echo chamber is what is desired, and it's like, look, we are a left-wing news outlet, or look, we are a conservative or right-wing news outlet, then to me, that's kind of fine. You know, it's why I don't really I know I'm not going to criticize something like, I don't know, say like Now This News, right? Now This News, as far as I'm aware, is like it's like an openly liberal, progressive news outlet. So it's like, cool, this is our spin, this is our bias. I'm like, okay, fair, right? If you're looking in the US, right, more on the right, you've got something like the Daily Wire, right? The Daily Wire is explicitly conservative media station, right? They don't pretend to be objective, straight down the line journalists. It's like, no, these are right-leaning pundits who are going to give you the conservative take on various issues. And it's like, cool, that's fine. They're open about it. It's fair. You can, read them and watch them, and you can go and check out some stuff from the other side. And that way you get a fairly balanced perspective. And I think that's fine. But when they masquerade as being objective and they're just heavily biased, then I'm not a fan of that at all. Not a fan of that at all. I've just seen a super chat come through, so I want to give a shout out to The Last. He has sent $5. Thank you. He wrote, if it was not for the media, so many people would be alive right now. Iraq war alone. So it's a great point, right? It's a great point. If you want to talk about unnecessary wars, unnecessary violence, whether this is on a domestic or an international level, again, how do you gain public support for a war? You use the media. Always. This is not new. This goes back to the World War, right? You use the media. You use the newspapers. You use TV. You use radio. You run propaganda. And the scary thing about propaganda is it works. That's the scary thing about propaganda, right? People hear the term propaganda. People are like, oh, I won't fall for that. I'm not gullible. This is propaganda. And the thing is that it works. Even though you are aware of it, right? Even though people are aware that propaganda is a thing. People are aware that biases are a thing. A lot of people are even aware that confirmation bias is a thing. But, humans are going to human, right? We're imperfect, and people are busy, and people don't have the time to do all the fact checking. And again, they have an implicit trust for the media. So I think maybe the situation we're in is that people, I know people watching this are already going to be more sort of skeptical of the media than the average person might be. But for people who are not, I think now is maybe the time to wake up, and not maybe, now is the time to wake up and just, be more critical, be more critical, be more aware, and just more conscious and more cognizant of the fact that, okay, there could be a narrative here, there could be an agenda here, right? If the media is reporting about this whole pandemic, right? What are their incentives? What is the narrative that they want you to believe? What is the story they want you to believe? Are they trying to scare you? If they're trying to scare you, why are they trying to scare you? How are they trying to scare you? Like, these are things to think about, right? If they want you to comply with a certain thing, right? If they want everybody to wear a mask and stay in their house and be freaked out forever and never leave their house again until nobody ever dies again, then yeah, they're going to keep hitting you with the, scary statistics every day. They're going to find the most, they'll cherry pick the science, and they'll take the stuff that confirms the narrative that they want you to believe, right? If they want you to be fearful, I mean, look, this has been used in, it's been used in very, very dangerous ways. I mean, if you look in World War II, good grief, man. I mean, look at the way propaganda was used, right? They're able to incite whole, groups of, the media can incite, this is the scary thing. The media can incite real violence. The media has incited genocides before, right? Really, look at what they did in Nazi Germany. Look at what they did in my own lifetime in the Rwandan genocide of 1994, right? They used the radio to broadcast messages to foment hate and to give out actions and calls to violence for the Hutu tribe to go and kill the Tutsis, their neighbors, right? They put out messages on the radio. They used the media to hype people up so much that they could go to their neighbor's house with a machete and kill them. Like, do you know how insane that is? That just shows how powerful, especially when you've already got a split, you've already got a divide, and you're always going to have divides. You're always going to have, ethnic divides, racial divides. You're always going to have gender divides. You're going to have ideological divides. You're going to have a left-right split. You're going to have religious people versus non-religious people, or different religions. It could even be the same. It could even be different denominations of the same religion, right? You've seen Protestants go to war with Catholics. You've seen Sunni Muslims go to war with Shia Muslims, etc. And media is always a part of it. Media is always a part. It can be part of the solution too. But I just think people need to be very cognizant and aware of the power of the media, right? And I'm not saying that in the modern Western world it's comparable to any of these things. I'm not doing the everything is Hitler comparison. I'm not trying to compare it, like say that the media wants people to genocide each other or something. But with that said, why aren't they condemning some of the violence that's going on in America right now? Right? They're not condemning it. Some people are, some people are not. Some people are acting like nothing's happening. Some people are even saying it's a myth. They're saying, mostly peaceful protests. 27 people killed, 27 people injured in mostly peaceful protests, right? Like, what's going on there? It's something to question and to ask, see what's going on there. I just see another super chats come through. This is from Toby. He sends £5. Thank you very much, Toby. Appreciate it, man. He wrote, is it worth trying to reform the mainstream media or just create better alternatives, or both? Love the work you do. Thanks, Toby. That's a really good question, man. Really good question. I think I think both. I think I think people need to hold the media accountable more. And I think people need to be vocal about it. Like, if people are seeing things that they don't like, or they're seeing narratives and things being peddled which they know are not true, or they're just seeing very heavy bias beyond what is reasonable, I think now's the best time ever for people to be able to make our voices heard. I mean, I'm live streaming from my living room right now, and hundreds of people, thousands of people can go and watch this video. So that's amazing. And we all have this power. We've got smartphones, we've got videos, we've got podcasts, we've got social media. So now is the time for the voices to be heard. I do think that it is worth trying to reform the mainstream media. How to do it is complicated because, like I said earlier, it comes down to the incentive structures. So if people are being paid not based on the quality of their journalism or the quality of their articles or their work, etc., but they're just being paid for clicks and advertising revenue and so on and so forth, then you're always going to get bad behavior because it incentivizes bad behavior. I feel like if journalists knew they would earn their income and they would get paid by telling the truth and by trying to be fair and trying to be objective, and that's the way to sort of advance up the rankings and to grow in popularity and make more money, etc., then I think more people would do it. But anytime you create incentives for bad behavior, you're going to get more of that bad behavior. So I don't know the answer, but I think it's a combination of the two, and I think it's great having more people. I think it's great that people can create YouTube channels and people can run podcasts and things like that. Like you guys know me, I'm a 100% advocate for free speech. It doesn't mean I like all speech. It doesn't mean I support all speech, but people's ability to speak, even if I disagree with it, even if it's offensive, even if I think in some cases I may even think it's despicable, but people have the right to do that in a free country, and I think that by having lots of alternatives, people can go through that and people can work out what they agree with and what they disagree with. What I'm going to do in general, thanks again for your super chat, Toby. What I'm going to do in general now is I'm going to reopen the Q&A. I'm going to go through and see what questions people are potentially asking. If you have a question, now is a good time to ask a question because I want to go through those for the next 5 or 10 minutes before I come back, discuss discuss what I'm talking about a little bit more, and then we can log off for the night. Like I said, if you want to drop a super chat, you are very welcome to drop a super chat. Thank you so much for everyone who has done so. Let's see. I'm going to have a quick look here and see what is going on. There's a lot of people. Okay, here's a question. Question from Leia. Hello, Leia. But why do you think there's a constant narrative? What's the goal? It's a good question. That is a good question. I think it depends on what the narrative is. But I think most narratives are about control. I think it's about wanting to control the public sentiment and the public feeling, and as a result get a certain action from people, whatever that is. It could be positive, it could be negative, right? It could be trying to encourage people to recycle more, or it could be encouraging people to dislike X group of people on the negative side, or it could be encouraging people to be a little bit more cautious about the virus, or it could be to, lock people down so that it has an impact potentially on November's election results and on the economy, etc. Right? So it could be something that's like positive and noble, or it could be something that's a lot more sinister and manipulative. As someone said, it could be to build public support to go to war. It's really hard to go to war without public support. But if you can convince people that this group of people is the enemy, or this nation is the enemy, or this individual is the enemy, or whatever, then you can then justify actions that are taken against those people. So I think that the reason there's a constant narrative is because people want to control people for whatever reason. And I think depending on the narrative the narrative itself will suggest what potentially the reason for that could be. Let's see what else we got in terms of questions. All right, this is from Mike. Question: essential to media reform is reform of schools and journalism. How can this happen? Wow. Do you know my honest thoughts on this? Like, people talk a lot about schools, universities, education system, media, etc. What I really think is that I think people need to demand more. And that might sound weird. I don't mean this in the in an entitled way, right? I think people are demanding a lot of nonsense right now. And I don't mean this in that sense. What I mean is holding powers accountable. It's something that we talk about a lot. Something you hear a lot in reference to politics, right? Hold them accountable, hold them accountable. But I think with all of these institutions, with schools, I think parents, if they have children in school and the school is trying to teach their kids some nonsense or teach them some stuff that they think is wrong or is immoral or whatever, then it's the parents' responsibility to act on that, right? Not just to sit back like a sheep and maybe complain on social media, but no, like you got parent teacher conferences. Speak to the principal, speak to the headmaster, speak to people, and join together. Like that would be a scary thing for a school, right? If you've got 500 angry parents who are not happy with the way their children are being treated or the stuff they're learning, like they're gonna have to change stuff up. Because at the end of the day, you're paying their bills. You're paying their bills, right? When it comes to journalism, again, people need to hold their feet to the fire. Just like the journalists are supposed to hold the politicians' feet to the fire, like the people need to hold the journalists' feet to the fire, right? If they're reporting fake news, if they're spreading blatant propaganda, if they're telling actual lies or they're misreporting, then people need to call them out on it, like en masse, right? And then they'll quickly realize, okay, we can't get away with we can't get away with just putting out whatever nonsense that we want. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I think people en masse still just need to, yeah. I think people need to really rise up. Not in any kind of like aggressive, of course, not in any aggressive or violent way or anything like that, but just talking to people, right? Talking to people and finding out what the deal is there. Someone has asked, how does PBS compare with BBC? I don't know. I'm not very familiar with PBS. Do you think clicks trump facts lately? More clicks is more money, so bending truth to get money. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This is why you also get really misleading headlines, right? It's why you get headlines which are very sensationalist, because once you've clicked over, I don't know how well you guys know how internet money can work, but on the internet, when it comes to advertising, people are paid often based on clicks, right? It's called CPC, which is something per click, cost per click, right? So advertisers will pay based on clicks or based on impressions. And by getting page views by a lot of people looking at a specific page on a website, then that earns them more advertising revenue. So if I create some crazy headline, right? Coronavirus deaths set to quadruple in the UK next week, right? Some crazy headline, right? A lot of people are going to click on that. They'll be sharing it on Twitter. They'll be sharing it on Facebook. If I have ads on that page, then I make a lot of money because people are clicking over to that. And then maybe in the article itself, I could say, I might then walk back the statement, right? So I walk back the statement and I say, some Twitter users have suggested that this could happen, right? And it could just be one Twitter user who maybe an account I run, and then you can create a whole story out of nothing, and then you can say that science says that this is actually very unlikely, but this is what someone said, and so that's a way you could use a misleading headline to drive people over, right? You could have oh my gosh, like such and such person just said this crazy thing, and then you go and you read it and they've paraphrased, or it's anonymous sources and there's no evidence the person said that, etc. So that's a big problem. So yeah, clicks are trumping facts when it comes to the business model. So I think the business model needs to be reformed if the media channels are going to be reformed. Someone has dropped a super chat. Let me get to that right now. This is from End Times. That's a very cynical use. That's a very pessimistic username there. But they've sent $10. Thank you so much. At the same time, the display picture is an island that's shaped like a heart. So maybe it's not too bad. But thank you very much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Let's see what else we have got in front in terms of the questions. Ethical Bunny has written, how do we dismantle the hold the left has over everything? Media, education, police, etc. Again, courage. Courage, right? People need to stop letting themselves be bullied by small minorities. That's what's constantly happening. And I think it happens a lot because people are not very vigilant, right? People don't like to rock the boat. People don't like to be the person who, if everyone else is lying, if you're in a room and 99 people are telling a lie, it's not nice to be the one person who's telling the truth, right? Even if they're not lying, right? If they all have a belief and you're the one who doesn't have that belief, or it seems like that. And again, that's it. Doesn't even need to be a majority thing, right? People don't like to rock the boat, and people are busy, and people don't think that most things are going to go as far as they potentially could, right? So something on the surface sounds fine. When these Black Lives Matter protests started kicking off in the USA, a lot of people, I saw where this was going, right? But by me expressing my thoughts on Black Lives Matter, right, I received huge amounts of criticism, huge amounts of problems for me for saying that I don't support Black Lives Matter because I said it early. I was one of the first people to say it publicly who's got a large platform. And now you're seeing everybody saying that. Seeing everybody saying it. I support the statement. I don't support the organization. Everyone's saying what I was saying now, but being that first person to stick your neck out above the parapet, it has consequences. It can have social consequences. It can have, it can have personal consequences. It can have employment consequences. So that's why people don't like to do it. But I think more collective courage is really needed. And people also need to support the things that they do like and that they do approve of, right? Whether that is arts, entertainment, media, whatever it is. If there are people, companies, organizations out there doing things that you like, then support them. Then support them. I think that's really what it is. In terms of dismantling it, that's it's people have their different political views, right? The left is trying to dismantle stuff from the right, the right's trying to dismantle stuff from the left, etc. I think, look, at the end of the day, we all got to get on in society, and in the real world, most people don't even really see people along this left and right sort of binary split, because it's a lot more nuanced than that in real life. Like if you're walking down the street, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, is this person a Labor voter or a Tory? Is this person a Republican or a Democrat? Is this person left wing or right wing or whatever? Like most people don't even vote, So that's the reality of it. But I think, is a constant message I'm always banging on is just encouraging people to speak up more, just speak up a little bit more. If you see something that's really going sideways, you see something that's really out of order, don't be afraid to speak up, even if it feels like you're the only one who's speaking up at the time, because I can guarantee you there's other people who are going to be feeling the same way. And a lot of you guys probably know me because I'm someone who does that all the time, and I'm not afraid to do it. But yeah, thank you for the question. It's a good question. Let us see what else we have here for the Q&As. Have you heard about Classically Abby? Isn't that Ben Shapiro's sister? I think she is, but I don't know much about her beyond that. Joanne has asked, are you still making music? Yes, I am still making music. I'm actually going to be writing my new album next month. I'm hoping to get most of it written next month. I'm going to be taking some time off the grid, and I'll probably be actually traveling to a different country to go and lock myself away in an Airbnb for several weeks and work on my next album. So new music is coming. Okay Dude, of course, the single came out a couple months ago, but that's just a little taster of what's to come. Let's see what else we got here in terms of questions. I'm going to go through a few more, and then I will make some statements to close this out, because I like to keep it for around an hour. Question from Walden Benjamin. How do you find middle ground when the media has already shaped the perception of the general public? Whoa. That's hard. That's hard. And that's always the situation, too, because the media tends to, the media's first, right? The media shapes the perception before anybody really has a chance to challenge it or to ask questions or to go into it in more detail, etc. Sometimes they do that and then they sort of double down. Sometimes they do it and then they backtrack because they realize that they sort of took the wrong perception. But it's difficult, man. There's no perfect answer to this. I think it's a really insufficient answer, but you've got to just do the best you can do. And ultimately, you can only control yourself. So it might feel like everyone around you is sleepwalking. It can feel like everyone around you is sleepwalking sometimes, and they're not getting it. But the best you can do is do your best, but then also understand, like, look, you can't, what's that common phrase? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And that's just very, very true. So you're always going to have people who are gullible. You're always going to have people who are very, very emotional. You're going to have people who have financial and emotional investments and in certain narratives and biases. So even if they know they're not right, they don't want to come out of them because there's they've built their house on that narrative and all that kind of thing. So all you can do is do your best. Like try to find the truth, try to spread the truth, try to talk to people, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. People who are willing to have an honest conversation, whether that's offline or online. Just do your best in that regard. And if we all do that, then I think that things will get better. So that's my best advice right there. That is my best advice. Okay, let's see what else we got in terms of questions. All right. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, a lot of yeah, I want to give you guys a couple announcements as well. So in terms of my own podcast, my Real Talk with Zuby podcast, I have got just today I've locked in like a whole bunch of new guests. So I have confirmed Brett Weinstein for my podcast. I have confirmed. I'm just locking in a time with Douglas Murray, which is going to be a big one. Zuby Douglas Murray collaboration. That's going to be a big one. I've also got Funny Mane, who's a comedian and an activist from the USA. I've got Mac Lethal coming on, who's he's a rapper, pretty well known rapper who's done a lot of stuff online. He's got like millions and millions of views on YouTube. I've got him coming on. I've got my friend Chris Williamson, who's the host of a fantastic podcast I've been on, which is called Modern Wisdom. He's coming on. I've got Andrew Doyle, comedian. I've got Afyong Williams, who is a great female entrepreneur from Nigeria. I've got her coming on, and I've also got Leonidas Johnson, who's he's got some really interesting comments on Twitter, and he's a Black American conservative guy. So yeah, I've got a nice range of new guests who are going to be coming on the podcast in the next couple of months. So stay tuned to those. I'm still working on locking in Mr. Ben Shapiro. Still trying to get him. It'll happen eventually. But yeah, you got to just persist with these things. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. So once again, yeah, I'm not. You know what? I'm not gonna dwell on this one. I'm not gonna dwell on this one too long. It doesn't need to run up to an hour exactly. But yeah, like I said, running. If you're just tuning in now, my personal thoughts on is the media the enemy of the people? I agree with it in part. I think that it's something that needs more nuance than that, of course, like a lot of things do. It's not a simple answer. I think the mainstream media is the cause of a lot of the unrest and division. I really think that they've been stoking certain fires and reopening a lot of wounds that we're trying to close. And I do put a lot of that at the blame of some of these people behind these media channels. I don't think it's good. At the same time, human beings have agency. So human beings we all collectively, need to be less gullible, just need to be more vigilant, need to be more aware of what we are consuming, what the narratives out there are, what it is people want you to believe rather than what the actual objective truth may be. And yeah, just keep yourself in check, listen to stuff that's, try to find some stuff that's objective. I don't know that's a great question, actually. What do you guys think is the most objective media source? What or who do you think is the most objective media source? Because I don't think that's an easy one to answer. And I have no idea. Like whether you live in the US, you live in the UK, wherever you live, let me know, what do you think is the most objective media source? Because I don't really know. Maybe here in the UK, it might be the BBC, because I know people who think the BBC has a right-wing bias, and I know people who think the BBC has a left-wing bias. So that probably suggests that it's decently balanced. I don't know. That's what I think. But yeah, that's all I got to say, man. Don't fall into the hype, especially to my American followers and my American listeners who might be tuned into this. Understand, look, you guys have an election coming up in November. There's going to be a big effort. There's been an effort for the last several years, but there's going to be a huge, monumental effort to make you feel a certain way, right? To make you feel a certain way, to make you angry, to make you hate, inverted commas, the other side, to make you fear for your life, to make you think that, oh my gosh, this is the most important election ever in the world. This is the final one. Things are going to break down from here. They do this hype, they do this hysteria every single time. They do it every election cycle. So just be cognizant of that. Just be aware of it. Don't buy into the hype. Don't go out with a gun and shoot anyone. Don't go out with bats and attack anyone. Stay away. Keep your family safe. Like if you're in any of these cities where this crazy stuff is going on, just stay away from it. Honestly, stay away from it. Like I can see people are be getting tempted to kind of go out there and fight against it physically and stuff. Like, don't take the bait. Stay away. Stay away. Just stay rational. Stay calm. I know it can be annoying to deal with complete morons sometimes. Like some people are just morons, and it's tiring. And sometimes you just want to kind of like confront that. But don't get caught up in the hype. And keep your wits about you. You know, go with your conscience. Vote for what you believe in. If you're going to vote at all, you know, vote for what you believe in. Don't vote for what you don't believe in. I never tell people how to vote. I don't tell people who to support or whatever. Like I've got my own leanings, but that's on you. That's on you, right? So don't buy into the hype. Whatever lines this is across, right? They're trying to pit, you know, whatever it is. They're trying to stir every pot they can, right? They'll tap every pot. They'll stir the sexes. They'll stir the men versus women one. They'll stir the black versus white one. They'll stir the nationals versus foreigners, whatever it is, left versus right, red versus blue. Any pot they have to stir, any line they can divide you across, they're going to be trying to do it. So don't buy into the hype. Don't buy into the hype. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself, always. And make sure you love yourself because you matter. Your life matters. All right? That's all I got to say. Thank you very much for tuning in. I will be back next Monday, 8 p.m. BST. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in live. If you're watching it back now, I hope you enjoy it and can take something valuable from it. God bless you all, and I will talk to you next time. Peace.